So the fact that you've just been able to run up consistent profits within the past couple of trades clearly just shows that the only thing that you have to do now is just continue to keep going. And your profit's going to be reflective on your discipline. So I know a couple of sessions or months ago, certain setups were just rushed and certain things like that. But now you're waiting for your A plus setups to be inherent. You're waiting for the A plus setups to be formed. You're waiting for the setup to really make sense in every type of way. And, this is why your profit is clearly, a lot more reflective into what you're seeing now. Okay. So I'm just going to do a brief overview on like simple mistakes that sometimes we can make to avoid making false decisions, right? Okay. So it's going to be why most traders fail with support and resistance. Okay. So it's going to be two things. So once we know support, it's going to be the V portions where you're going to normally see market decide to bounce within an upwards formation. Okay, when you see market bouncing within an upwards formation, making a V motion here, V, making a V, making a V. Okay, you see when market's making V's, okay, that's going to be an area of support. Now, we're going to go ahead and also have the opposite spectrum of that, which is going to go ahead and be resistance, an area where price decides to fall down. Okay, so resistance is going to be these areas here. So these top areas here were priced to kind of just an upside down V, what I like to call a wizard hat. So wizard hats, wizard hats, wizard hat. Okay. Wizard hat. Okay. Upside down V. And so when you see wizard hat, that's going to signify resistance. Okay. Wizard hat equals resistance. Okay. And V's equal support. When you see price making a V, that's going to be the bottom of that V is support. Okay. Now, what people fail with is they don't understand that market is not always going to be clean. Okay. So let's talk about the trend of the market. Let's talk about break and retest, for example. Okay. So we know this simple drawing here. Okay. Let's say price decided to kind of top out at this area of resistance right here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and draw a box right here. So say price made an area of resistance right here at this place. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put an R right here for resistance. R, resistance. Okay, now say price were to go ahead and travel upward. Boom, say it rejected at the resistance right there again. Okay, once again, resistance is gonna be an area where price is having a hard time pushing in upwards direction past. Okay, so it's having a hard time pushing past this area here. So when price is having a hard time pushing past an upwards direction in a congruent area, that's going to be an area of resistance. Now, resistance needs to go ahead and get broken in order for price to go ahead and move within an upwards direction. Okay, so people think that sometimes, and sometimes this does occur, but resistance sometimes might get broken, but then people always expect a clean trend. Okay. So the mistake that traders make is they expect a clean trend. All right. Most people fail with support and resistance because they're expecting price, they're expecting everything to be so clean and congruent. Yes, you can trade and get as clean and congruent trades as you can, but I'm going to go over right after this how to identify just clean and simple trades, even break and retest wise. Okay, because it's not going to be every single time you're going to see resistance turn into support. Okay, so resistance was broken just to start the staircase in the higher low mythology. Okay, we can go ahead and see that resistances can be broken and then turned into support. But there's going to be times where that actually just doesn't happen. Okay, it might not ever go back down to the resistance, literally. Okay, so you can't expect market to be 100% clean all the time on your structure. Okay, that's going to be one thing. Most people fail because of that simple reason. They don't expect or accept the fact that market is not always going to be as clean as they want it to be or they think it's going to be. Okay. Sometimes real, and sometimes you might miss out on a good trade, clearly just or simply just because it wasn't as clean. But even that's not the worst thing in the world, you know. But yeah, so here's how we can go ahead and combat that and just have easy ways. So everything's not going to be clean and perfect all the time. Resistance is not going to be broken and turn into support, and support is not always going to be broken and turn into resistance. Okay, that's just not realistic. Things being perfect and working linear and congruently all the time, in a sense, is not realistic. The market just doesn't work like that. Okay, so we got to prepare ourselves for every type of scenario. So most people fail because one, that simple fact, they don't acknowledge the fact that, okay, break and retest is not always going to be clean. Some people are expecting clean break and retest and completely missing the bigger picture. Okay. Two, if we're going to really look at areas of support and resistance, once again, just like we know, this is really important. We got to make sure that we're looking at the daily time frame here. Okay. So SPX here, I don't like to long things that don't have resistance above current price. That's my criteria for me personally. If there's no strong resistance above current price, I just don't like to trade it. Okay. So SPX for me right here would just pretty much be like a notion and an indicator of which way the market's going to go into. Okay. So if you're a stock trader, you can look at SPX and you can see, okay, which way pretty much does the market want to move. SPX is going to be the full global conductor of the market, and it's pretty much going to show you which way market wants to move in. Okay. So if SPX is at all-time highs, yes, we can keep bursting into all-time highs. There's going to be scenarios. Take this one, for example, because, this was all-time highs at one point over here. Once we got above it, kind of retested off of here, we continued upward for a lot of points. Okay. I'll say about 200 to 400 points. Okay. So we have SPX, we have all-time highs right here. So 100, 200, honestly, we could have around like 500 points to go, maybe like all the way up here. So we definitely could have some upside room on the SPX here. So based on just past historical evidence. But the only reason I know that and I'm confident in that is because I'm looking at my higher time frames. Okay, so if you're going to use support and resistance, make sure you guys are eyeballing the 4-hour and the daily. Okay, we got to make sure we're looking at the 4-hour and the daily. Okay, this way we can get the full broad view and the broad picture of exactly what we're looking at, and we're not going to be lost. We're not going to be confused into like, oh man, which way is the market going? Because if you guys are tunnel vision on the 1 hour, on the 5 minute, on the 15 minute, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be profitable. You're going to be making a lot of silly mistakes that you inherently didn't want to make originally. And it's going to be hard to sometimes recover from those losses. Okay. But you're going to be able to do it. Inshallah, don't give up. But yeah, just understand that progress really, really takes time. Okay. So, boom. After this, let's go ahead and let's analyze something that has resistances above current price that we could analyze here. Okay. Pfizer took this trade here. Let's go ahead and let's go over the setup here. Okay. So one thing that made me confident within taking this trade here, and this was a just simple clean W. Okay. So traders also fail to analyze the overall market trend. Once again, like I just said. So I was on the daily and I could see here from SPX that April 8th also did the same dip down. Okay. As a stock trader, this is just my indicator. So April 8th. So I can see that Pfizer is a stock that wants to reflect SPX. Okay. So on April 8th, they both did a dip down. So I can pretty much predict the market for both ways. Okay. So boom. Now I can also see that, okay, price is beating earnings. I like that too. Okay. TradingView has the earnings reports down below. Big fan of this. So yeah, all the earnings are down below there. Okay. And then we also do have the ultimate indicator that I do like here, which is going to be higher lows being made. Okay. So this is going to be my ultimate long indicator. Long is me assuming that price is going to go in an upwards direction. Okay. Once I see higher lows being made and resistances being broken, I can assume that we want to go within a upwards bullish direction. Okay, so this is what I did here. I noticed on the daily that we weren't at all-time highs yet. Okay, there's still lots of upside room. So I'm like, okay, I think we want to at least meet this resistance area right here. Okay, all the way up here. I think we want to meet up here. All right, we're on our way to it right now. So then after my daily, I like to get on my 4-hour time frame. Okay, some traders fail with support and resistance too. Some people might not have these settings adjusted for extending trading hours. And if you do everything on the daily, sometimes you could literally be having candles hidden. And that could really be frustrating. Okay, so extended trading hours is going to be imperative. Okay, so I like to see higher lows being made. Okay, resistance is being broken. And then from there, once a resistance is formed, I can assume that inshallah, if God wills, once broken, it wants to be met. And that's what I did right here. Caught this gap fill, boom, and then price decides to go ahead, continue up, break and retest off the resistance, and then meet up with this resistance up here. Okay. So it's just super duper easy, honestly, once you start understanding market within a logical sense. Once you start looking at it all day, once you start just grinding and really just taking your time, things start just becoming a lot more simple. You just start waiting for the setup to come to you. You don't struggle as much anymore. You don't panic as much anymore. And you really just start letting the bread just flow as much as you can to you. Inshallah. All right, so look, I'm going to go ahead and go over one more thing as well too. So here's going to go ahead and be another uptrend here. Okay. So we have price making super ultimate lows here. And then we also just have an uptrend being farmed here. Okay, this is going to be H-band. Kind of same thing here. Super ultimate lows following SPX. Then I see higher lows kind of being developed here. Okay. Higher lows being developed. You know, sometimes we don't get clean break and retest all the time, and that's okay. Just focus on higher lows being developed, and then you might be able to, inshallah, go ahead and catch an area of resistance, just catch the gap fill. Boom, trend line diagonally right off the resistance here. Boom, as soon as price broke it, build, take profit, close. Okay, and then as you can see, we broke out of this level even here. Okay, and we headed up to this next resistance level here. And we even broke past this, retested off of this, and headed up all the way up here at all-time highs. Okay, so once you start reading the market, it just becomes easy. Okay, so you can either do one of two things. Just wait for break and retest, trend line gap fill, or wait for a breakout with like 4-hour close. Okay, because right here, if you would have entered as soon as price broke the blue, you would have ate some drawdown, that would have been fine. But if you would have entered right here on the close, boom, price would have just jolted up. Okay, so that's going to be the 3 ways I recommend to play long trends. Okay, and same thing for a downtrend area. Let's go ahead and let's go over that. So if price is clearly downtrending, let me go ahead and go over here. So we're in a clear downtrend here. Say price had this area of support here, right? Okay. Let's see what happened when price broke this area of support. So we didn't get clean break and retest like we would have suspected. Okay, what happened is price decided to pretty much like maintain above it, kind of came down a little bit. So don't be thirsty to short all the time, especially depending on markets like choppy. Like it's hard to be thirsty to short. So as soon as we got above this area of support, we just blasted all the way up. Okay, so if you're shorting the stock market or crypto, just be careful, be exact. If you're shorting forex, it's a lot easier. That's a lot more just, yeah, it's just a lot easier. It's a lot more sideways market. And yeah, but when it comes to stock and crypto, you know, it's a lot more bullish, a lot more long based. So yeah. So making these mistakes within the market can sometimes just destroy P&L. So the big thing we're going to have to once again just be doing is constant repetition, 1, constant repetition, constantly marking out setups, constantly studying, constantly just seeing how markets reacting off of certain things, right? All of that is going to be just imperative to success, inshallah. And it's really just putting in the necessary work that has to be done. Okay. So once again, after you do your work on the daily tier two, say this trade, for instance, this was a super duper easy little gap fill. 4 hour. So right here, boom, price decided to get a break above. As soon as we got like a close above the 4 hour, boom, filled the resistance. Okay, so that would have been a possible trade here too. Filled the resistance as soon as we got a 4 hour close above the entry. Okay, could either wait for a 4 hour close or 1 hour close too for a little riskier. So 1 hour close can work out too. So 1 hour close above the blue box would be a decent entry. You know, most likely the resistance wants to get met. The next one, okay. But ideally 4 hour close is going to be the safest way to, depending on the size of the breakout too. 4 hour close could be really, really strong and good depiction. Okay. So Nike here. So Nike had a really crazy breakout. I do want to go over this as well too. Okay, so let's check this out. So Nike, I'm gonna go ahead and get on my daily time frame. Let's make sure we're never tunnel visioning on the smaller time frames. Okay, most people just fail support and resistance because they're tunnel visioning on smaller time frames. Make sure you're on your daily first. Okay, get the full broad view of the picture. Okay, Nike has so much all-time highs. Okay, so I know at least some resistances want to be met. We have an April 9th dip, April 8th dip, just like SPX. Okay, higher super lows being validated, and then higher lows being created, just like SPX. Okay, so we can clearly see that price wants to go ahead and continue to move in bullish uptrends. So then from there, what we can go ahead and do is go to our 4 hour time frame from there. Okay, you would have been able to catch any of these trades here, especially if you realize higher lows were being made. You could have easily just played a trend line area of resistance if you wanted to. So you played this one. You know, you would have been able to enter here. Would have took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to just hit take profit right here. Boom, and that would have just been some good points, around like 2 points at Disney here. Okay, and you're gonna be able to just pretty much play like any resistance gap fill that you want to once you do analyze the bullish trend. And depending on the stock that you play, the more volume and stuff like that it's gonna have. So the quicker it's gonna move, most likely in the direction that you want it to, quicker. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let me analyze AMD here, for example. Okay, so AMD is a stock that has been just kind of moving quite a bit, putting in some super duper nice higher lows. So as we can go and see, ultimate low, just like SPX, and we can see the support. Once again, I'm looking for these V's. Looking for these V's. Okay, we can see higher lows are being validated. Okay, higher lows are all being validated. All right. So now that I know that, I can go ahead and see this here too. Daily time frame, not going to tunnel vision and get the overall view. Okay, what I see here. Okay, price decided to just do some break and retest here. Saw price broke this area of resistance here and wanted to meet with this area of resistance right here. Okay. So once we had a 4 hour close above the blue box, it was safe and went ahead and felt the next blue square. Okay, so once again, you can either do 4 hour or 1 hour close. Go ahead and catch your swing trade and catch the whole breakout. Okay, once again, you can either do 1 hour or 4 hour close. And yeah. So breakout or break and retest are going to be extremely, extremely effective. Okay, it's just about knowing when to close too. Once an area of resistance gets hit, you got to get out. Otherwise, you might eat some wick backs, eat some heavy drawdown, and people are going to be quick to sell, quick to dump it, quick to reverse. Okay, and I don't want you to get reversed on and get frustrated. Okay, take this stock right here, IR. This is still a good stock to enter. Take IR, for example. Still some room here. we broke this area of resistance right here that was just being held for a long time. And we got a 4-hour close above here and a retest. So IR is really, really good buy right now. And I think we're going to go ahead and fill this 95 gap here. So IR is going to personally go like top of my list here. I'm really interested in getting in that. So yeah, I think that's a really strong and powerful stock here. Gave me a nice 4-hour close, gave me a nice retest, and I think we're going to go ahead and try and just fill the whole gap. Okay, I can see. We'll see about the news. But yeah, for the most part, setup looks clean. Let me go ahead and go to the next. Let's go to the Gen here. So same thing with here too. Ultimate low, matching SPX. Okay. So that's how you know market wants to go ahead and mirror that. Okay, ultimate low, matching SPX, same April 9th, April 8th low. Okay, and then price making higher lows from there. Then resistance gaps getting broken. Okay, so you take right here. Okay, so with this right here, this is just a really, really choppy stock right here. So if something's just OD choppy, you just don't have to play it. Okay, Hal right now, saw some nice bullish momentum. God is the greatest. Boom, same thing. April 8th low instead of trade I'm in right now. Higher lows being established, resistance break, and I see inshallah the resistances want to be met again and try to be broken, so then price can go ahead and continue upward, maybe to even these resistances potentially. Okay, potentially. Okay, so this is gonna go ahead and be Hal, and yeah, just make the trades easy. You guys can wait for close, draw your trend lines, and just look at everything on your higher time frames. The reason why most people fail support and resistance is not the fact that it's not consistent. You have to accept that break and retest won't always be clean, A, and you have to use your higher time frames in order to get the full picture, B. All right. Catch you guys in the next one. Stay prayed of God. Keep grinding.